Hello, and welcome to Give Me Credit. Hi, I'm JS Waldo. I'm from JS Waldo on Substack, Mortgage Lending Explained, and we are here today with our credit genius, John Mackey. Hello, John.
How are you?
Also, doing good. Also on Substack, Credit Genius. John, welcome. How's the weather?
It's warming up. It's warming up.
Oh,
But I thought I'd break a trend today, and I'm wearing pants.
oh, well,
So
you
I'm
have
wearing
to,
pants today.
you have to
Yeah.
start sometimes.
Yeah, there are many complaints about me wandering around the neighborhood without
Yeah.
pants on.
I was thinking of calling your wife about that.
Wow, she's reported it to me to the police already. So,
Oh, that's funny.
but anyway, I'm doing fine, and you're doing fine.
Mhm.
That's good.
It's
That's
all
good.
good.
I've heard you guys have had some heat out there.
It's warm. My granddaughter was visiting from Arizona and we were walking around going, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot. It's 85 degrees." And she was going home to 106.
Is that in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are the first. I think this is the earliest time that they've hit over 100, triple
Yeah,
digits. Yeah.
I grew up there. This is not normal.
Well, just keep on burning that fossil fuels, boys.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, let's get into it, John. What are we talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
today?
let's see. So let's use the example. You get a letter and you're responding to this dispute letter. You're trying to write one, a dispute letter. And the letter you sent, and you spent an hour writing to fix your credit. But was it ever read at all? Today, we explain what happens.
Yeah, John, in our last episode, we opened the door to something most consumers never really see. Millions of Americans believe that when they dispute an item on their credit report, a human investigator carefully reads their explanation, reviews their documents, and decides what's fair. But as we discussed, the credit dispute system doesn't work like a conversation. Instead, it works more like a large data processing pipeline designed to move information quickly. It moves it between the credit bureaus, the lenders, and the collection agencies. That pipeline runs through a network called eOscar. And that
Right.
brings us to something we introduced in the last episode, a
Yeah.
concept called structural compression. That's the moment when a consumer's detailed explanation, documents, timeline, they're all translated into a short little dispute code so the system can process it electronically. In other words, the story disappears, the data moves. And if you've ever spent an hour writing a dispute letter, explaining your situation, attaching documents the bureau said they wanted, hoping someone would read it carefully, this may be the moment when the explanation becomes 3 digits inside a database. So, in this episode, we're going to take it one step deeper. We're going to look at who built the system, who controls the infrastructure, why millions of disputes move through a process that sometimes looks less like an investigation and more like a large verification loop. Because once you understand how the machine is built, you start to understand the result it produces.
Yeah, before we go further, there's something most consumers don't realize. Inside this eOscar system, not every dispute is treated the same. Some disputes trigger deeper reviews because they carry a higher risk, a higher legal risk under the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Right. All disputes aren't treated the same way inside the system.
No, they're not even close. Inside the credit reporting system, disputes are not read as letters or long explanations. Inside, they are converted into standard codes that move through a dispute network called eOscar. We explained what eOscar stood for before. I'm not going to get into that now, but this network is used by the three major credit bureaus, and they were created by the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And once your dispute enters that system, it stops being a story. It becomes a category of risk. Some codes signal very little risk to the company that reported the account. Other codes suggest a higher chance of legal problems, and that difference often determines how much attention the dispute receives.
John, what do you mean by risk?
Well, in this case, risk means the chance that a company could violate the law. That means one of the bureaus, especially the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now, some disputes raise legal questions that could cause problems for a lender or collection agency if the information turns out to be wrong. When that happens, the company reporting the account may have to take a closer look at the records. For example, disputes involving identity theft are often receive more information from the credit bureaus or the coders. Identity theft comes in with extra legal requirements. And if a consumer submits an identity theft affidavit or a police report, the company may need to review things like the original application, signatures, or account opening records. Another example involves incorrect delinquency dates. And this is very important. The date of first delinquency determines how long negative information can stay on a credit report. Not only that, it defines the statute of limitations. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, most negative accounts must come off after 7 years. Now, if that date is wrong, the account could stay on the report longer than the law allows, and that can create legal problems. A third example happens when someone disputes an account by saying, "This account doesn't belong to me." That raises questions about identity and account ownership. In those cases, the company may review application records, Social Security matches, or other account details to determine whether the consumer is actually connected to the account.
Yeah, so some disputes trigger a higher level of scrutiny.
Yeah, exactly. Think of the system as having different levels of attention. It's unfortunate they can't all be defined as the same, but they do create these different levels. Some disputes are basically clerical checks. The system verifies whether the account number, balance, or payment history matches what the company already has on file. If everything matches, the response simply comes back as verified. But other disputes raise questions that can't be answered with a quick database comparison. Those are the ones most likely to require someone to actually look deeper into the account file.
So you're saying the wording of the dispute matters?
Absolutely, very much. Because what actually moves through the system is not your entire letter. What moves through the system is the code reason for the dispute. The person processing the dispute selects a specific code that represents the problem being reported. Now, that code is then sent electronically to the company that reported the account. So the system is not really reacting to your full explanation. It's reacting to the category of dispute your explanation gets translated into.
Okay, so when consumers write emotional letters explaining their situation, maybe even attaching police reports or identity theft affidavits, are they just moving through the system untouched?
Sometimes they're reviewed, but in those cases, I shouldn't just say those cases, in a lot of cases, most cases, they're not. There's not always the in-depth people expect.
Mm-hmm.
The dispute process is designed to move quickly. extremely quickly. And like the last time we talked about this, it was like 1 minute. Documents are often summarized or attached electronically rather than studied line by line.
Mhm.
In cases involving identity theft or legal exposure, documents are more likely to receive attention. But in routine disputes, the focus usually remains on verifying whether the reported data matches the company's records. In other words, the system isn't always asking what happened. It's asking whether the data matches the database. Therein lies some of the problem.
Okay, so what about like say balance disputes?
Balance disputes, they're put into codes like 023 or 027. Those are the codes for balance disputes. Can
Mhm.
require the furnisher to review the full accounting of the debt. That means looking at charge-offs, payments, interest, fees. If the numbers are wrong, the company could be reporting inaccurate financial information. So what does that mean? Specific wording and legal documentation, like police reports, can act as mechanical levers inside the system. When a dispute signals higher legal risk, the system, and I say here, may move from a simple clerical check to a deeper review involving human attention. So moving from shouting at the machine to actually operating the machine is really the only path to accountability. It's understanding the engine, understanding the rules the system runs on. You can start using those rules to enforce the truth instead of hoping someone hears your story.
So you think that misunderstanding is one of the biggest reasons people feel like their disputes disappear into some black hole?
Absolutely. There never, for the longest time there weren't codes, but I'm not going to digress. Yeah, that misunderstanding is a big part of the frustration. People expect empathy, conversation. I want to explain myself.
Mhm.
Instead, they're interacting with a process built around database verification. So when someone writes a heartfelt explanation and the response simply says verified as accurate, it feels kind of mean. It feels
Yeah.
dismissive. And what
Mhm.
happened is something much simpler. The system just confirmed that the information matched the company's records. That's all.
That's frustrating. We talk about this all the time, John. This is why we do this podcast and why we
Yeah.
both write about credit. The average consumer is not taught how the credit reporting system works.
No, almost never. And you and I are really one of a very few. I'm not going to say we're the only ones,
We're
but
not.
one of the very, very few that understand the credit scoring system and the debt collection system. Most people learn about credit reporting the hard way by experiencing it or after a loan gets denied. The structure of this system affects mortgages, jobs, insurance, and financial futures. Yet very little of it is explained in school or everyday financial education.
When you explain eOscar to people for the first time, what reaction do you normally see?
Um, Frustration and surprise.
Yeah.
Many people are shocked when they learn their carefully written dispute letter may have been reduced to a short code. How would you like to be spending days, write 3 pages, and then it's reduced to a 3 number code?
Yeah.
They believe someone would read their explanation and study the details. But
Mhm.
no. Once people understand that the system runs on standardized electronic messages, their entire perspective changes.
Yeah.
They realize the process runs on codes and data, not long explanations. This isn't court. They ain't going to listen to you. And
Mm-mm.
this is why consumers should be careful about believing credit repair gurus, whom I despise,
Mhm.
claim they have secret wording, magic phrases, a workaround. It's a bunch of begins with an S and ends with hit. That will automatically fix a credit report. Simply not true. The system does not respond to magic language. In the end, everything becomes a code. Everything gets broken down into codes. People approach disputes the way they would approach a disagreement with another person. They explain the story and hope someone understands their perspective.
Right.
But the credit reporting system is not built around storytelling. Remember, it's numbers, it's ones and zeros, X's and O's. It's built around structured verification. Once people understand that, and it's a hard concept to grasp, their strategy becomes more focused, more precise. The system deletes accounts for one reason. Now, it starts with your complaint, but it gets deleted because the furnisher could not prove their data. If the automated system doesn't resolve the issue, the dispute can move beyond the verification loop. Consumers may escalate by requesting the method of verification, contacting the furnisher directly, filing regulatory complaints, or pursuing legal remedies under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And that's when the process moves from automation to accountability.
Okay, John, so let me ask you straight. If I send the exact same dispute to all three bureaus, do they handle it the same way?
Oh, you've hit. No. And this is why and where people get blindsided. Inside eOscar, your words get translated into codes, and each bureau translates them differently. A lot of the time, they're not the same codes, and they're going to be treated differently.
Okay, so give me an example of that.
I'd love to. Already. Same dispute, same account.
Okay.
You send your dispute to Experian with your explanation. They code it one way, something like a general dispute of information. It goes out, comes back verified as accurate. Now you send that exact same dispute, worded word for word the same as the one you sent to Experian. You send it to Equifax. They code it maybe more aggressively, closer to ownership or accuracy. The furnisher can't fully validate that. They'll remove the account. Then it hits TransUnion. Oh, I love TransUnion. Different code, maybe balance or payment details. The furnisher responds. Maybe they update the account.
So you've got three different outcomes from the exact same dispute letter.
Exactly. One verified, one deleted, one updated.
Okay,
And I've seen this on countless occasions.
Why is that happening?
Because the creditor isn't responding to your explanation. They're responding to the code they receive. And each bureau is sending a different signal.
Okay. So you're sending the exact same letter to all three bureaus, but
Yep.
you now have three different people opening those letters and entering what they perceive as the correct code.
Exactly. And that's how the current system works. Same dispute, same account, but inside the system, you got three different referees making three different calls.
Yeah.
That's not inconsistency. That's the system showing you where it breaks.
Yes. So it comes down to knowledge in the credit world is more than information. It can actually protect you financially. Most people believe the credit reporting system works like a conversation, like we're having right now, but it doesn't. It works more like a machine, a huge system that moves billions of pieces of financial data every single day. And when consumers enter that system expecting empathy, negotiation, or even debate, they're already at a disadvantage. The moment you understand the structure, everything begins to change. You stop arguing emotionally. You start approaching the system strategically. And in a system like this, knowledge is more than power, it's protection.
Guys, pull your credit report tonight and you'll see numbers, accounts, dates, and balances. It looks like a simple financial record. So where do you get your credit reporting? Where do you go?
Annualcreditreport.com.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But behind these lines of data is a very large system. It's quiet, it's automated, and mostly invisible to the people it affects. When something goes wrong inside that system, most people believe they are starting a conversation, but they are not. They're talking to a mute. They are stepping into the infrastructure. Codes replace explanations. Databases replace conversations. Verification often replaces investigation. If you don't understand that system, it can feel like your voice disappears somewhere inside the process. But the moment you begin to see the structure clearly, something changes. Confusion, it starts to diminish, it starts to fade. Frustration starts to make sense. And the system that once felt mysterious begins to look like what it really is: a machine with rules, pathways, pressure points. Because the real power in credit isn't emotion, it's understanding. And once you understand the machine, you're no longer standing in the dark.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much, John, for all this information. You give us so much to think about. You break it down in ways that we really need it broken down to understand. And I really appreciate you creating this podcast and us working on this together. And I hope all of you listening are getting some very valuable information. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free to share. Believe me, if you have a question, someone's already thought about it. We're happy to answer all of them. You can email us, you can DM us, you can leave comments, however you choose to do this, wherever you are listening to this or watching this. As always, we invite you to like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that bell, as they say. Get notified with new ones. We have a new podcast every week.
Every week.
Every week. And we will be back again next week. But again, we do invite you to let us know if you have any questions or comments. And also, I wanted to share with you, if you ever have a concept or an idea, a question that you would like us to cover, please share it with us. We wanted to give the information that you are looking for. So feel free to do that as well. Again, I'm J.S. Waldo, and this is John Mackey. You can find us both on Substack, and this is Give Me Credit. John, again, thank you so much for all the information.
Love it. Thank you for having me. This is
wonderful. Have a great day, everybody.